This episode is brought to you by Nordstrom. Summer's almost out and fall's calling. Luckily, Nordstrom has everything you need for the season ahead, all under $100. Discover new arrivals from your favorite brands like Mango, Princess Polly, Wave, Free People, BDG, and more. Whether you're planning a last-minute getaway, heading back to class, or refreshing your office looks, you'll find the latest trends and beauty must-haves without breaking your budget. It's easy, too, with free shipping, free returns, and in-store order pickup. Shop today, in stores, and at Nordstrom.com.
Shh. Hear that? Big waves are calling. Dive into refreshment with Kona Big Wave. Tropical flavor and the taste of aloha in every drop. So crack one open and let the great taste roll in. Kona Big Wave. Liquid Aloha. Copyright 2025 Kona Brewing Co., St. Louis, Missouri. Mahalo for enjoying responsibly.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show, and with me right now I've got a very special guest. He has worked for ECW as well as the independent promotions and even was a promoter for his own promotion. Pleased to welcome the one and only Bay Ragni. Welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Hey, thank you, Stanley. I'm really looking forward to this because usually when you do these podcasts, it's a lot of the same questions, and seems like we're going to go a lot outside the box in that.
Yeah, it's always good to, change of pace is always nice,
Absolutely.
Now, where are you from?
I'm originally from the Philadelphia area, right outside of, my family's originally from the South Philly section of Philly. And then my parents, way before I was born, moved to Delaware County, to the Upper Darby section of Delaware County. So I was raised in Upper Darby, and I lived there till I was 27 years old.
I mean, it's a huge wrestling market. Even before ECW, Philadelphia was and still is, a big wrestling town. And
I never knew until I started getting involved in the business.
It's crazy because I've heard stories about people watching, championship wrestling, WWF, from New York, and they would have like this little circuit that they'd go around from New York to Philadelphia to Boston, like across the Northeast, that little area. So it's fascinating to me when I hear these stories because this is how people, had not only watched it, but the commute, the wrestlers would go to different towns across these areas, and that's how they'd make the rounds.
Yeah. I remember being a kid, like when I first started watching wrestling, I was like 10 years old. And when I'd be watching WWF on TV, and seeing they were coming to Philly, or seeing there was like one or two guys, like Special Delivery Jones was from Philly. I would be like, oh my God, that's amazing. There's actually a wrestler from Philly. I had no idea that even existed.
Now, were you always a fan?
I didn't even know what wrestling was until, like I said, I was like 10 years old. My father passed away when I was real young, so my mom and I would go spend like a weekend once every few months down at either like different aunts and uncles, and they had children my age, my cousins. So my one cousin, Joey, his father, my Uncle Ralph, was a wrestling fanatic. So we would be sitting in the kitchen, like rolling or playing games or playing with our superhero dolls or whatever we were doing. And I would hear all this screaming coming from the living room from my Uncle Ralph. And I'd be like, what the hell's going on? And this went on for a while. And then finally I was like, I had to like see what was going on. So I went out and sat down with my Uncle Ralph in the living room and I was watching what he was watching, and it was professional wrestling. And I saw the Moondogs. They were the first ones I saw. And there were these crazy big guys that had this like shaggy, moppy hair, and they were like hollering and screaming and chewing on bones. And I was like, this is freaking amazing. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And that just sucked me in. And from that point on, I became a wrestling fan. I was like, why do I watch this at home? And then I started watching wrestling every Saturday morning.
I mean, don't you just love those moments where you turn on the TV, you flick around the channels, and then you find something that's very eye-opening?
Changes your life.
It definitely does. Now, were the Moondogs your favorites growing up? Were they like your favorite wrestlers?
You know what? That was like it always had like a little special place in my heart. But my first true favorite wrestler growing up, which I was excited because when I got into the business, I got to do his gimmick, was Adrian Adonis. So Adrian was he was a singles wrestler. He was a tag team champion with Jesse the Body Ventura, with Dick Murdoch, and then he turned. Well, he was always a heel, but then he did a gay gimmick, and then had this major feud with Roddy Piper, and yeah, but you know, then sadly he passed away in the late '80s in a car accident. But once you know, as a young kid watching, you don't realize like the athleticism these guys have or how truly amazing a worker they are. And then once I got into the business and I would sit and watch tapes and study tapes and figure things out and like see like moves that I'd want to cherry pick and turn into my own. I started watching old Adrian Adonis tapes. I was like, oh my God, this guy was so underrated. He was truly one of the all-time greatest workers in the business. And he's somebody I feel definitely needs to get his respect.
I think it's kind of fascinating too. Like a lot of the times when you have like colorful characters or flashy characters like Adrian Adonis, like the Gorgeous Georges,
Hmm.
really like provide that, showmanship,
Yeah,
like that entertainment value. Um, Macho Man Randy Savage is another one with the
absolutely.
glitter and glam, glitz and glamour with the glossy outfits to
Hmm.
the ring. Seth Rollins, today is another one.
Absolutely.
So you have, guys out there that are not only great workers, but their gimmicks are just top notch.
Hmm.
Like next level, like character driven. Um,
Absolutely.
and so, all right, so you made your debut in the early 90s. Talk to me about the training, that you went through. I mean, I'd imagine it
This
was
is where it
very,
gets
very
comical.
intense.
This is where it gets comical because um, anybody watching professional wrestling, you'll see um, a move that is involved in everything is being able to flip. I couldn't flip. You know, if I'm working a match and somebody gives me a suplex, gives me a hip toss, tosses me out of the corner, whatever it is, I can flip and go. But for the tryout, you need to stand there yourself and just take a step, jump in the air, flip, land on your back. You can never do it. I could never do it. So they let me go through my training, and normally guys would train 3 to 6 months, get their first match. I trained for over 2 years, and they wouldn't let me have my match. They finally were like, it took promoter at the time, Joel Goodhart from the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance. I was like, after 2 years, I was like, I'm done. I quit. Like, I'm out. Like this, I'm never going to get to debut. I'm never going to flip. And he said, come down to the ring on this date. I'm going to help you out. So I meet him down there and I go and I went with my sister, who my sister was like my biggest supporter. And she was actually 15 years older than me. So, and she was helping me go through the training and all financially. So I go with her and he comes walking in. He brings Paul Orndorff and Nature Boy Buddy Landau with him. And they get in the ring and work with me. And at that point, like It was real quick with Orndorff. Orndorff got in, locked up, gives me a hip toss, he looks down me. Can I curse?
Yeah, go for it.
He goes, "You know what your problem is, boy? You're too fucking fat." And I'm looking up and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I get up and he walks out of the ring. He goes to the gym and trains. Landell hops in the ring. He's like, "Fuck that guy." He's like, "Come on, let's work." And literally works a match with me. Work like a 5 quick minute match. And he turns to Joel and says, "Give this kid his match. Let him work. Let him debut." And I owe it to Buddy. And from that point on, me and Buddy Landell became very good friends for many years until he passed away.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. This is a very tough industry because you have to sacrifice so much and you're put through the ringer, you do all these workouts and drills, it's a lot, it takes out on you. Do you recall any pieces of advice that your trainers gave you that you still apply to today outside of wrestling?
The biggest lesson I really learned in professional wrestling, which turned out to be not only a life lesson in the business, but a life lesson in life. And that was by a guy named Johnny Hotbody, who I'm still very close friends with to this day. Um, we were in the gym training, and we were as you're training, you end up hitting on the ring apron, telling stories, and we're having a discussion about the business. And at that point, the tag team titles and the federation had changed, and I voiced my opinion. I was like, I don't get it. Like, I don't think they're that good. I don't understand why they put the straps on them. And he got in my face. He's like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "How dare you? You've never worked a match professionally. You've never been paid to be a professional wrestler. What gives you the right to judge another person in the ring?" He's like, "You have no respect." And I was like backed up because I thought he was going to hit me. And I was like, "Oh shit. All right." And then like that always to this day, I could still picture it clear as day. It's stuck with me. And at that point forward, I learned respect for people in the ring and out of the ring. And I use that in my everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll have to learn lessons the hard way, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so you train, put the work in, you make your debut. Were you nervous, scared?
I was petrified. Petrified. Um, because always in the back of my head was that situation A with the flip. And then I mean I actually what happened was Tri-State Wrestling Alliance goes out of business. And a few months later, new person steps in, which happens to be Todd Gordon, restarts the promotion as ECW now, which is now Eastern Championship Wrestling. And Todd didn't know me from Adam, but person who helped finish my training, Jimmy Janetti, um, and some other people, put a word in and said, "Hey, like this dude's been around, give him a tryout." So he gave me and my partner a tryout as the Hell. We did the biker gimmick, the Hell Riders, and our tryout match was against Stevie Richards and a guy by the name of Delaware Dynamo who worked under a hood. And after the match, Todd was like, "I love it. You're on. You're in." So he started booking us every show.
Yeah, I mean, those early days of ECW are just interesting to watch years later because you see how it
Okay.
how it's it's
Great way
it's
to put it.
it's you see differences between how it started before it started evolving into what we know now as Extreme Championship Wrestling. But you start seeing ECW in the early days. You see all these performers. I'm like, wow, this is amazing what they're able to do, and look at where they went. I mean, it really did change the industry because you start
Mm.
seeing a lot of these guys and girls become huge stars, personalities, and people still talk about it today. The legacy that ECW really left behind.
It's and I had this discussion a lot with people. I get asked to do a lot of these podcasts, on my own podcast, and just with fans in general, with conversations I have with fans. ECW is without a doubt way more popular today than it was 30 years ago. I was a person that was blessed and able to be part of the company not once but twice. And it's kind of crazy because both of my runs in the company, I was a very, very small piece of the pie. And people remember me like crazy. Right? I mean, it's just, I'm like, I don't remember myself from 30 years ago, let alone, the outpouring of fans that I get. It's amazing. And I've been blessed. And that's the way I truly look at it. I happen, especially to be a Dudley, I just happened to look like a Dudley. And that's how I got in. And again, going back to Stevie Richards, because I was friends with Richards and, we went through wrestling school together and we always were close and trained a lot together in those early days.
Now, what was it like being around the Dudleys during this time period? How'd you get involved with the Dudley faction at the time?
It was literally, I was at that point, I was not involved with ECW. I was working the indies and was also starting to promote my own shows at that point. This was around 94, 95. I guess it was around 95. And I was watching ECW because it was making a buzz, and I was getting sucked in watching it because it was such a great product. And they debuted the Dudleys, which I saw on TV. And then what happened was Little Snot Dudley, who only worked, I think, the one TV taping, got hurt. He was in a car accident or something. And Steve Richards said, I know somebody who looks just like the Dudleys. So he called me up. He goes, "Hey, we got this new gimmick, the Dudleys." I said, "Yeah, I saw." He's like, "I think you'd be perfect. Do you want in?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So he set up a meeting for me, him, and Paul, and I went and met up with them at the hotel after a show one night. And I was in the lobby talking with Richards, and Paul came walking up, and Paul instantly just said, "Oh my God, another fucking Dudley." And we just started talking, and I was in.
And during this period of time, the Dudleys were a faction, a group of people. It wasn't just a tag team. It was you and Snot Dudley and Big Dick Dudley, and of course Bubba Ray and Devon were in there as well, and Spike, of course, was added
It
later
started
in.
growing, yeah. Like I was there. Like the order of Dudleys was it was Big Dick, Snot, Dudley. Snot goes out, in comes both myself and Dances with Dudley. We started the same night together, which was like the next month. So now you have us five. And then they start putting a plant of Sign Guy in the crowd. So Sign Guy's technically part of the faction a few months later. And then Bubba comes in a few months later around the same time. And then Sign Guy crosses the guardrail and comes in and becomes part of it. So now there's like seven of us. And it's kind of crazy. And then probably about 6 months later is when they brought Devon in. So now there's like eight of us. So it was kind of crazy.
What was it like um, being with those guys backstage? I mean, I'd
It
imagine
was
it was.
it was great. I mean, honestly, we all truly got along backstage. We were like brothers. We all hung together and sat together. Um, I was closest to at that time in the early days was Bubba and Sign Guy. And getting to know each other, me and Bubba had realized and Sign Guy, we all played instruments. Me and Sign Guy played guitar, Bubba played drums, and we had the same musical styles and interest and taste. And then we started joking we were going to form a band and we were going to get Raven as the singer, so it was going to be Raven and the Dudleys. And yeah, I mean, we just all got along very, very naturally, and we became feel like we did become brothers to a point, and we looked out for each other and helped each other, and yeah, we had each other's back.
Yeah, from what I've when I've talked to people from ECW, it seemed like that there was a camaraderie of
Yeah.
a group of those guys. Really, and it was a family. It was a family
It was.
atmosphere, and I think that's one of the most lasting legacies of ECW was that kinship.
There was it was truly us against the world, and that it was partially because of the times. Um, it was the era of extreme, not just in wrestling, but that was like the new word that was being used in sports and entertainment. And, a big reason was Paul took that word, one of the early ones. There was other ones starting to use it, but Paul was early on and he really took things to the extreme and defined everything. And then when it became not just the in-ring style, but the out-of-ring style with, we were a bunch of crazy people. And we started shooting on all the other companies and workers, and it became a whole renegade thing, like which was gaining attention worldwide. It was crazy. Like when fans were truly coming to the arena back then, you know, they were squeezing between 12 and 1,500 people in that building, like sardines. Like it was, God forbid, thank God it never happened. But if there was a fire, I mean, there would have been hundreds of people probably killed because it was definitely a fire hazard. It was literally like they were shoehorning and sardining people in that building. And people were coming from all around the world to be a part of it and witness what was going on because they couldn't believe what they were saying.
It definitely gained a huge following.
And that's why 30 years later, people can't stop talking about it. There's never been anything like ECW before ECW and after. Look, there's all these matches and all this hyper extreme times 10 going on with these like people using these crazy things of glass and fire and all this, but there's nothing behind it. ECW had reasons for everything, and there was amazing storylines to go with everything that was done, and there was wrestling psychology written by people like Paulie and Raven, some of the smartest people in the business that know the psychology of the business to write these things, these storylines, where I mean the storylines alone had people on the edge of their seats. And then you put it with what was happening in the ring, and it's like, oh my God, like this is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think psychology is definitely important because you want to know why you're doing the moves as opposed to just only doing the moves.
Why? I mean, in all reality, people, yeah, they want to see violence, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to this death match tournament, and I'm gonna watch two people who just met each other, and they're gonna get in the ring, and they're gonna start busting light tubes over each other. They're gonna throw each other through panes of glass. They're gonna light each other on fire. But why? Why? There's no reason behind it, and more of these shows are happening like crazy. It's I don't get it, and I was never a fan of the whole deathmatch stuff. And look, nothing against people that want to do that. If that's on you, but I was just never a fan or wanted to partake in that stuff.
Well, when you talk about death matches, why do you feel it's not something you would want to do or something you are for?
I don't, I never minded like being in a feud with somebody, having a hardcore feud and going through tables and getting whacked with chairs and getting busted open and that's fine and dandy and that's one thing for the sake of the storyline and stuff like that, but just with nothing behind it and it's just the fact of how we can out it's like almost out gross each other, you know what I mean? Like how I don't even want to use the word extreme because it's beyond that. It's like how can we literally almost kill each other in this match, but really have no meaning behind it?
Yeah, it's kind of has to be like contained in a way because you want to be able to do it, but do it properly and with a reason.
It's like I'm sure you've seen it, and I'm sure everybody's seen like you always see it like on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, these new I don't even know what they're called, but it's like slap fights where it's like a slap challenge and you see two people at a thing and they take turns slapping each other. It's like who's going to outslap the person the most? That's what those matches are, and it's like I don't know. It was just this was never for me.
Now, you've gotten to work so many different people over the course of your career, competed against a lot of opponents. Who have been some of your favorites that you got to be working with over the years that you got to step in the ring with?
The crazy part is when I was in ECW, I really never got to work. They didn't the second run, they didn't let me work. They just had me as part of the sideshow of the Dudleys. So that was the disappointing part and part of the reason I left. But when I was working the indies, one of the people I got to work that really was a lot of fun, and it was after I left ECW, was another ECW alumni, Jason Knight, and we had nice like extreme hardcore match in Jersey for NWA New Jersey, and we did an ECW style match. We went all around the building like a pinfall's anywhere in the building, blah 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 blah. Told the story, back in the ring, do a finish, and that was it. Like so, getting to work people like Jason was really a lot of fun and an honor.
You got to do it though.
Yeah,
Got to be able to
yep.
do the ECW style match with
Right. I mean,
one
hey,
of the legends.
I always knew I could do it because I was doing it on the indies, working in my own promotion that style against guys and getting booked on the indies doing it. So, I mean, it was just a matter of at that point when I was in ECW, Paulie saw bigger things with people like Bubba and Devon, which is understandable because they both gone on to be, one of the greatest tag teams of all time and Hall of Famers. So he obviously saw something there in them that he didn't see in me, and he made the right call.
Now you keep up with wrestling today. I know you've got a YouTube channel, but who are some guys that you go, man, these guys are going to be the next level, the next big superstars? Who are some people that you enjoy watching today?
It's funny because when I left the business, I turned it off for 20 plus years, and I just started watching in the last 2 years again. And AEW, I don't even know. I don't watch AEW, so I just watch the WWE product. And the person you mentioned already was Seth Rollins. I mean, he's above and beyond. I mean, he's like one of those iconic figures now. CM Punk as well. But there's guys like I'm not even fans of them, but when they work, I'm like, holy shit! Like, and that's those what's those Viking guys?
The Viking Raiders, the
The
War
War
Raiders,
Raiders.
the War
Yeah,
Raiders.
two big guys that are agile as hell. And it's just so impressive because I was always a big guy, but to be able to move like that, and that one dude, he's easy 350, 375. So, that takes a lot to do stuff like that. But yeah, I mean the whole roster nowadays, for the most part, is an amazing roster with WWE. And I'll say for the ladies, the one who I keep saying she just got pulled up to the main roster. She's going to be the next big star of that whole company is Stephanie Valkyr.
Hmm.
She's going to be huge and somebody who I've been saying for the last 6 months. Um, again, one of the ladies, but now she's out injured. Is Liv Morgan? I say she is the modern day HBK because she makes everybody look like $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, she's killing it right now. Like she's getting to work all these big matches and with the big match stipulations and
Yep,
elimination chambers and ladder matches and all that stuff. I mean, it's incredible to see what women's wrestling has done over the
it's
last
crazy.
decade or so. Um,
There was, I think it was WrestleMania. It was Rhea, Io, and was it Bianca
Bianca.
Belair? Yeah, they had that three-way match. I was literally at the end of the match sitting there in tears because I was so moved at what I was like, this is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen in my life. I could not believe how fucking amazing that match was. I was so blown away. I was literally in tears.
Yeah, I thought that match was incredible. I think that match was incredible. To see what those ladies are doing today, the women are doing today, it is um, some pretty next level stuff. You had a story that was it was very emotional and inspiring, and you're able to push forward from that time. If you
Well,
wanted to talk about it.
I, I I mentioned early on, my father died when I was 4 years old, so never really having a father or father figure was kind of it's something now, even at 55, 51 years later, I still um never got past it. I just never emotionally got past it. Have been um I never healed. I'll put it that way. Never healed from that. And what was it 14, 15 years later, then my mother passes away, both from cancer. So my mom passed away when I was 18, and now I'm hit with no parents. And at that point in my life, we found out my mom was sick with cancer when I was 16, and she was fighting against it for a couple years. And at that point in my life, I was really a complete screw up in school and high school. I also thought, and I was also going down the path of, I thought I was going to be a rock star, and I was going to be this big, like Motley Crue or somebody, and make all this money and be this big time crazy rock star. Not that I ever really tried to learn to play my instrument well. I was too busy teasing my hair up and making myself look pretty instead of trying to be pretty on the guitar. But my mom came up with the idea um, to buy me a pizza shop because she knew I was not going to be a rock star. I was trying to set me up with a life plan, but she knew she was dying. So she buys me this pizza shop, lets me drop out of high school, and 9 months later, she passes away. And I literally, that morning, January 8th of 1989, um, I came home from the hospital. I walked back in my house to work with my sister, um, 7:30 in the morning. Went in the refrigerator, popped open a beer, and I used to, casually drink at that time as a kid. Um, and I just started drinking nonstop, nonstop. Um, even to this day, I drink a lot, and I'm not saying that's the solution for me or for anybody. Um, it's been a tough road. You don't realize, and at time it's crazy when you say to yourself, I don't know if it was a blessing losing my parents early or torture, and it's been torture. But I I live every day asking myself with the what ifs. What if my dad had lived? What if my mom lived? What if they were still alive? What would my life look like? How much of a different person would I be? Would I be a better person? I would hope I would be a more structured person. Um, so I think if they lived and I had them for a lot longer in my life, how hard would that blow be when they find, you know what I mean? It's like the mind games. The mind really is a tricky thing. So I've gone through my life just battling um the situation with my parents and battling depression from a very young age. And I actually, like, just this past Friday, I was in such a slump. And there's lots of times where I get in those slumps and I will either A, start drinking, B, just go in the bed with the covers over my head. And I just want to escape the day and hopefully get to the next day and hopefully it'll be better. So I really just something I battle and I've battled all my life. And in turn, it's weird because I'm always very open and honest with myself, with people, fans, friends, family. Um, and I become like quietly, like almost a spokesperson or therapist to a lot of fans. A lot of them, because I am open and they hear me talk about this stuff on interviews, and then they'll say to me, "Hey, like, I'm going through this," and I end up like sitting and talking online with people that try to help them. And I start each day. I try to get it in the morning before I go to work. Sometimes it's a little later in the day, but I try to start the day off um with a quote. I'll come up with a positive motivational quote for the day, and I end it with, "It's going to be a great fucking day." And I literally was in a slump one day, and I was laying in bed, and my girlfriend had Steve Harvey on, and he does like these motivational talks.
Hmm.
And he was talking, and I was listening to him, and was just saying, it could be a bad day for you. You could be down in the dumps. You've been going through this, going through that, blah, 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 blah. But you're here and you have the choice and the opportunity to make it a great day. And that was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And it just stuck with me and resonated. And I was like, you know what? No matter how in the dumps I am, no matter how depressed I am, I'm going to start it with that quote and that saying that I'm going to come up and make up myself, or I'll sometimes steal like a song lyric and pop it in there. But I want to try to help people have a great fucking day. And I'm trying to. I'm not, I am by far saying I am having a great day. I'm trying just as hard as you and the next person to make it a great fucking day. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's never easy losing
No,
important people in your life, and especially people like your parents who helped raise you and make you the person who you are. Um,
it's
so
crazy. Like, you know, even like now, my fiance will ask me a question about my parents. And for the most part, I can pretty much kind of answer it about my mother, but I can't answer it about my father because I was 4 years old. I like have a handful of memories of my dad, and it's kind of weird. And I literally have two pictures. I have a picture of me and my father when I was a newborn baby, and I have one picture of me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. The only family picture I have of the four of us. So it's kind of weird. Like that's all I have. My my family, my original family.
yeah, I mean, it really is devastating when you have those losses in your life, and you got to find it from within to be able to push yourself forward. And you really have to discipline yourself, just like with the wrestling. You have to discipline yourself to prevent yourself from going down that dark path, consuming.
So easy to go down that dark. I mean, it's literally, and I don't know if you're a person that deals with depression but I'm sure anybody out there that does deal with depression, they can tell you at any moment, it's literally like any moment you can go off the track and off the rails and be in that depression. And it's like a real fine line. And it's a constant battle and struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you've got to really like fight through,
Mhm.
and you really have to tell yourself every day, things will be okay if you just do this. Try to take care of your health, not just physically, but mentally, you know. And,
And you know what? That's where it all starts. It truly, like right now, I'm going through I'm in one of my bad weight issues. Like through most of my life, I've gone up and down with weight. And my heaviest, I was like 380 pounds. And right now I'm about 315. But Uh, at that point in time, when I was going through my divorce and everything and relocation, I just had a complete mental focus. And I was able to, I lost almost 120 pounds. And I was down to the lightest I've been in 30 years. But, and I maintained it for about 2 years, but then I started going off the tracks, and still dealing with stuff, whether it's financially from my divorce or issues with my children from my divorce, and just taking a toll on me so much to where then it's been affecting my current relationship, life, my job, like everything. So it's just kind of been steamrolling, and I've gained my weight back. So I'm back up to 315 pounds again. So it's like a daily struggle. It really is. And it's tough. It's really tough, but everything starts mentally. A person told me this years ago, and it is so true. Um, I used to go to Weight Watchers years ago, and at one of my check-ins, um, because I would sit down with the counselor and I would go through, I would keep track of what I was eating, and I would sit with them. And the woman said to me, as she would look at my stuff each week, and she said to me, she goes, "You know what she goes, it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you." And I'm like, bingo, bingo. It just opened my eyes. I'm like, that's it. I have so much in my head, on my shoulders, and all that just breaks me down day in and day out. And I'm just like, I'll drink this bottle of wine. I'll eat this whole pizza, and it's just kind of like I get a fucking attitude, and it's wrong. And I got to learn more discipline, self-control, and but number one is fixing my mental.
What's like your go-to as far as getting yourself out of that funk, getting yourself out of that space?
You know what? Right now, I can't even tell you because I currently can't get out of it. I've been in it now for a couple years, and I sit and have the conversations with myself. I sit and have conversations with my fiance. I mean, that is number one. You got to be able to have open, honest conversations, with yourself and the person closest to you. Um, but it's trying to find solutions right now. If I can find solutions for some things that are really weighing on me and pressing me, then it would help clear things up. Like as of a few weeks ago, I could honestly tell you, and I'll get it. I'll be very honest with you, as I always am with anybody I do interviews with or talks. I've been suicidal at times, and I will sit there, and there was one time it got so close I even wrote out my suicide note, and I was getting stuff prepared. But at those times, and there was a time lately, like I don't see a way out. I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Lately, I'm like starting to see like a glimmer, but I'm just trying to hone in and get closer to make it brighter. So it's there. It's just trying to get the answers and solutions.
Do you find it do you, are there like activities that you like to do that help you get your mind off of
But stuff I like to do is not good for you.
like being outdoors or it's some form
Okay,
of
so
exercising, some form of
okay. It's weird because I do truly love going to the gym and exercising, but it's like I have a mental block getting there. It's so weird. If I can once I get there and get in the gym, I'm fine. But it's like, why do I put these blocks up, putting myself there? I don't know. Going out, I'm not a person um for the heat. And here you're a Nashville yourself. The humidity here is so bad. And actually, just over a year ago, I had 5 heart attacks and I had a heart stent put in. And I like we went out the other day. It was real hot. We went and took a walk around our complex, and I said to my fiance afterwards, I'm like, I get nervous outside in the extreme heat like that because I feel like the heat is just closing in and it gets kind of hard to breathe at times. So I'm like, I say, it's funny because I keep saying to her, I want to go, which just might sound crazy, but I'm like, I want to go to the supermarket and just walk up and down the aisles in the supermarket. It's air conditioned and just let me walk and get my steps in the supermarket. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like it's just it's exercise. It's a part of that. It's a part of, movement. You're walking, and so
And that
you're
was a big part of when I lost 120 pounds a couple of years ago. I was walking every day. I was walking either an hour on the treadmill or I would do a 2 mile walk a day.
I believe that everybody is in a work in progress of
Always.
trying to help, whether it's physically or mentally. Like we're all trying to figure out life and how to figure out, how to take care of each other, ourselves. And it doesn't come easily. It takes work, and it's something you have to really push through to make sure that you're able to do that.
You know what I really feel, and maybe you can tell me I'm wrong and I'll listen to you, but I feel it's almost kind of easy to do anything in life and get to your goal that you want to be, whatever it may be, but maintaining that level and staying at that level is a lot harder than getting there.
That's true. That is that there is some truth to that. I
Hmm.
think that, you to be able to stay at that level, it takes work. It takes
Yeah,
hard work. So
absolutely.
discipline and, you know, focus is very important to be able to
Mhm.
have your eyes on that goal, whatever it is, because if you achieve one thing here, the next thing you want to achieve comes next.
Yep.
You have to work at it, and it's all about, staying in that zone, being determined and confident, and hopefully things will open up. I mean, it does take a lot of work.
Nonstop.
Yeah,
It's a lifelong job.
that's what it is. Well, what is it? What message do you feel you want to send to the people listening to this podcast about overcoming obstacles and being able to overcome depression, that people that are going through something, what is there a message you want to say to the people that are listening?
The biggest message to the whole thing is A, you're not alone. You are by no means alone because really talking with people and learning, everybody's either going through what you're going through or going through their own battles. So you're not alone in whatever battle it is that you have. And whatever battle it is that you do have, it might suck today, but tomorrow could be a great fucking day and you don't want to miss it. So just do the work, stay positivity is a beautiful thing. It's a must. You got to maintain positivity and keep working to make it a great fucking day.
Right. It's what we're here for. I mean, wrestling with heart. It's all about the
That's it.
positivity.
That's it.
Bay, thanks again for coming on to the show. It means a
Thank you,
lot to me
Stanley.
and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. Where can people find out more about you on social media? And oh, I forgot to mention this. So you got a podcast as well. Let's talk about that. What made you want to start that?
I've been doing podcasting for 13 years now. I used to do a weekly live radio audio show I did for 8 years called Totally Driven Radio. Positive. It's positivity, totally driven. And that's what I used to do celebrity interviews. I ended up doing like over 1,000 celebrity interviews. And a lot of that was talking about their stories, and they're being driven to get to where they got. I ended up closing that down after I was going through my divorce and moved to Nashville. And then I relaunched different renditions of it as the Bay Ragni show. I used to do a strictly music interview show. But now I'm in the midst of just converting everything over because this whole Chubby Dudley thing and ECW craze has really been big lately for me the last couple of years. So I'm going, everything is under Chubby Dudley Official on YouTube, Facebook. I just started a TikTok the other day. And I'm just working to really become, honestly, a full-time content creator right now. I'm doing videos all day and night. I'm going to be doing my podcasting where I'll be doing more interviews with wrestlers, musicians, comedians, whoever it may be. And also, too, I do WWE recap shows. Me and my tag team partner, Mr. Johnny Hotbody, the guy that taught me respect 30 plus years ago. We do it together. We have some friends and fans from the business jump in and hang out with us and help out. And we have a ball with it and trying to push the whole world into a great fucking day with hanging out with Chubby Dudley.
Oh man, I love to hear that. It's amazing. Full circle moment, getting a chance
Absolutely.
to. Yeah. Well, Bay, thanks again, and you're
Thank
more than
you,
welcome
Stanley.
to come back.
Anytime, man. You know where to find me.
All right, take care.
You too.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.